what happened to Auston Matthews? Alright, so I just want to talk about Auston Matthews and the Toronto Maple Leafs in general, because again, they get out of the playoffs with a disappointing effort. Yes, they made it past the first round this year, finally, but then you get whooped by Florida in 5 games, so we need to talk about it. Alright, so we're a couple days removed from that Toronto Florida series, and wow, I don't know what else to say besides the Panthers. They took their chances and capitalized. They had a really good goalie. Sergei Bobrovsky played really well. But also, just the core four of the Toronto Maple Leafs did not play good. That's all I can really say. And the core four, as you know, most people know, it's Auston Matthews, Mitch Marner, John Tavares, and William Nylander. And I guess I can't lump William Nylander in there because he played really good. And I mean, for the past couple seasons now, William Nylander has been their most consistent playoff performer. We need to talk about Auston Matthews in specific, though. In 11 games this playoffs, he had 5 goals, 6 assists for 11 points. So 11 points, 11 games. That's really good, right? But in the 5 games against Florida, 0 goals. I don't know how many assists he had. Let me check. All right, so I just checked. Yikes, Austin only had 2 assists in that series, 2 in 5 games. Man, you're getting paid $11 million. What are you doing? I don't know what to say. I mean, Austin, he didn't have too many high danger chances. The one I can remember off the top of my head is when he dings the crossbar. I want to say that's game 3 in like the opening shift of that game. But other than that, he couldn't get to the middle. He couldn't find any lanes, even on the outside. We know Austin Matthews has a rocket of a shot and can score from almost anywhere, but it didn't look like that was the case here. And we saw it in the Tampa series. He had a couple deflected goals right out in front, and he did not go to the front of the net. And I could see why those Florida defensemen like Ekblad, Racco Gudis, Mark Stahl, they're going to cross-check you. They're going to cross-check you in places with no pads. They're going to make it hell to get in front of that net. And you could just tell Austin didn't want to go there. And I mean, that's not just Austin. There wasn't too much traffic in front of Bobrovsky throughout this series. The one goal I can think of with traffic in front of Bobrovsky was Mitch Marner's goal in Game 4. And that one just had a seeing eye. Credit to Mitch. He found a lane. That wasn't a very Mitch Marner-like goal where, you know, he has possession of the puck and finding little pockets to weave in and out from. He just circled around towards the top of the blue line and took a shot from the blue line. But, I mean, like I said, credit to him. He got a goal, so can't knock him there. Austin didn't score. So you're being paid $11 million to do nothing. Does he even want to come back to Toronto? He's played 7 seasons there now and 1 playoff win. And, I mean, it was just this year, too. And then you lose to the Cats in 5. Like, oof. The management has a lot of thinking to do. First off, they got to re-sign or sign a new GM. So what's going to happen there? And then for Marner and Matthews on July 1st this summer, so literally in like a month and a half or so, both of their no-move trade clauses come into effect in July 1st. So if you're going to blow this team up, you have to have a conversation of who you're hiring for your GM. Are you re-signing Kyle Dubas? Or are you going to get a new GM within before July 1st? And then if so, if you're blowing this up, who are you trading? Because you can't trade Tavares. He's got no move. I don't see them trading Mitch Marner. I don't see them trading William Nylander either, even though he's got the best contract, the lowest contract, and he's been like kind of the whooping boy out of the core four. But like, man, Auston Matthews, he didn't do anything. And besides last season's playoffs, he actually played really good. And just like this first round against Tampa, he played really good too. But when you get on to the second round, that's when you need to elevate the game even more. You see like McDavid, McKinnon, Nikita Kucherov, all those guys who are lumped as like top 5 players in the league, they just elevate their game and become unstoppable in the playoffs. Auston Matthews, he didn't look unstoppable. He looked, I don't know what to say he looked like. He just wasn't dominating. So, I mean, he's going to demand a lot of money on his next contract. He's a Hart Trophy winner, 60 goal scorer. I mean, there's 2 guys in the league right now that have only hit 60. So, that's a lie, actually. Connor McDavid did that, and David Pastrnak. So, I don't know what I'm saying, but that even degrades his payday less, maybe, because, hey, look, you're not the only guy since Steven Stamkos to hit 60 goals. You have the best player in the world in McDavid, and then David Pastrnak, who had a great year. He got paid a lot of money. So, I don't know. Maybe he demands 13, maybe 12.5. I don't know what he will want, but I mean, we all know like Toronto is having hell in their cap space. So, what are you going to do with Austin? Like I said, if he wants to resign, he's got to make a reasonable price to help out the team. But if he gives an offer that the Leafs don't want, man, you're gonna have to package him away, kind of like a Matthew Tkachuk. You don't want another Johnny Gaudreau situation happening where you're like, yeah, I'll play the year out and we'll see what happens, and then right before free agency starts, you're like, yeah, I'm not playing here. I'm going back to the States. So, man, what are they gonna do with Auston Matthews? We'll have to see if it comes out that he was playing injured, because maybe he was playing injured. But hey, Leon Draisaitl played with a super high ankle sprain that looked super painful last year. Dude was electric. He was a beast. What's wrong with Auston Matthews, man? It's crazy. All right, I want to move over to Mitch Marner. In 11 games, he had 3 goals, 11 assists for 14 points. So Mitchie, great playoffs on the stat sheet, but only 1 goal in that second round. Again, if you're being paid 10.93 or whatever he's being paid, if you're getting paid close to $11 million, you need to perform as the series goes on. You can't just have one good series, especially with how this team is run with their caps. Like, you need the top 4 guys to be playing at an all-time high. Like, that's just how you win Stanley Cups. Your top guys perform and you get depth. Your depth can't get you to the Stanley Cup final and then you show up, right? So, I mean, Mitchie, I like how he played in the first round. He looked a little tentative. It looked like he didn't really want to get hit too much in that second round. He did throw some hits too, so which I was happy to see. But I mean, Mitch Marner, he wasn't flying around the zone and looking for passes all the time. So Mitch's stats will look good on the stat sheet for those 11 games, but him and most Toronto fans will understand that, man, Mitch did not have a good second round. I want to move over to John Tavares. In 11 games, 4 goals, 4 assists for 8 points. You can't have an $11 million captain getting 8 points in 11 games, which 8 points in 11 games is not that bad. It's actually really decent in the playoffs. But if you're being paid $11 million, you need to score at least a point per game and above. And I mean, this contract has just gone down the drain. He's gonna keep getting older. So I mean, John Tavares, like, he's a good player. I can't deny that at all. And I can't get upset with him how he played. I'm upset with his contract, because you can't be making $11 million and be doing this. So I think he's more like a $7, $8, $9 million player, and that'd be more acceptable. 8 points in 11 games, right? He got some clutch goals too, but 0 goals in round 2. You need more from that. All right, I want to go over to William Nylander. In 11 games, 4 goals, 6 assists for 10 points. So Willie being paid just under $7 million and being your most consistent playoff performer. You can't get mad at William Nylander. We know he's not the most engaged player throughout the season, but I mean, in the playoffs, that's where he shines. You can see in the last couple games of their season, playoff seasons that is, like, Willie was their best offensive player. He was handling the puck. He was, just weaving in and out. He was finding people to pass to, and he was taking some great shots. Obviously, he had that game-tying goal in Game 5, and I mean, that was one of the clutchest goals that he could have scored. And I mean, what else can you say? He's a good playoff performer. Besides Game 1 against Florida, he did not look that good. But other than that, I really liked Willie's game. If you're blowing this team up, you got to keep Willie, because, I mean, for one more year, he's at just under 7, and he gives you great offensive production. And then if you're going to trade him this summer, you're not going to get a lot, because he only has 1 year left on his deal. So you're going to lose that trade. So I think you keep Willie. But who else are you going to get rid of? So I really don't know what this Toronto team's going to do. But Willie, like I said, I loved his effort. And then I want to go over to Morgan Rielly in 11 games. 4 goals, 8 assists for 12 points. So over a point per game, you don't really see that from defensemen. And especially how, like, Morgan Rielly played throughout the regular season, he kind of just didn't. He just didn't have it, it seemed like. And then towards the end of the season, started picking it up. And then he had 3 goals in that Tampa series. And then he almost had 2 goals in that Game 5 against Florida. So, I mean, he was putting up the points, like I said, 12 points, 11 games. I love to see that from Morgan. I think he should have been the captain of these Toronto Maple Leafs. I mean, he's been there the longest, so. And he performs, right? He's on a good contract. I believe it's 7-something. I don't have that off the top of my head. I should. I'm sorry I don't. But, I mean, it's not like he's being paid $10 million. It's not like he's a $10 million defenseman. And even if he was a $10 million defenseman, 12 points, 11 games would be absolutely worth it. So, I love Morgan. I loved how he played. I can't complain about him. He was their best, probably in all throughout the playoffs. Morgan Rielly was probably the best Maple Leaf. And I want to shout out Matthew Knies. He only played 7 games, but he got 1 goal, 3 assists for 4 points. And obviously, his 1 goal was his first NHL goal. I made a YouTube short on it. Go check that out. It was a beauty of a goal. So I love that from Matthew Knies. And it's crazy how this college kid meant so much to these Toronto Maple Leafs. And I mean, once he was out of the lineup, it seemed like a completely different team, really. And I mean, it just goes to show how good Matthew Knies really is as a player, and how much the Leafs need him. So I can't wait to see a full 82 game season under his belt next year. Also, I want to shout out, he was a +3 in these playoffs. A lot of guys on these Leafs were minuses, so seeing Matthew Knies with 7 games played and 4 points, he's a +3. He was out there for 2 or 3 overtime game winners in that Tampa series. So, I mean, shout out Matthew Knies. What else can I say? And I just want to move over to goaltending. Ilya Samsonov, 9 games played, he was a 4-4 and a 898 save percentage. So, I mean, you can't blame Sammy. He didn't play great. He didn't play bad. I thought he played good. And there's a big difference between playing good and playing bad. And I don't think Samsonov played bad. So I mean, he made big saves. He did give up some stinkers as well. But I mean, hey, he's not an elite goaltender, so he made the saves he needed to. I want to go over to Joseph Woll, and wow, it looks like this guy will be a NHL regular next year. He looked really solid in net. Unlucky for the overtime goal he gave, both overtime goals he gave up, actually. But that one against Sam Reinhart in Florida, where he's looking like a lost puppy out there. And I mean, can you blame the kid? The puck was coming around left side. He turns, and then it comes back the other way in a split second. So I mean, he's still got a lot to learn. Like I said, still a young kid. So I mean, you can't really blame him for that. Radko Gudas screened him on the overtime series winner. So yeah, Joseph Woll, I really liked him. I think he'll be the backup for the Leafs next year, depending on what they do. But like I said, I'd like to see him in the NHL as a regular next year. If you guys made it this far, thank you so much. I'm not a Leafs fan. I just like watching the Leafs because, I mean, you have Auston Matthews, Mitch Marner. You have amazing talent on this team. And just to see them falter again, it just is super heartbreaking. And, I mean, what are they going to do this summer? They have some contracts to deal with. Auston Matthews can re-sign a contract July 1. So, what happens there? I can't wait to see. Thank you guys for watching. Please give a like, subscribe if you want to, and thank you guys.